Paperboy News here to deliver y'all that final and daily report. Now shout outs to Cartoon 1 from 5 Trey Avalon Crips, cause he dropped a solid interview, and today he had a special guest, which was Jap 5's Pops, who's also from 107 Hoovers, and he goes by the name Baby Jap. So let's talk about it. Now Cartoon asked Jap 3 a very good question, and he said what was it that made the 107 Hoovers adopt the word Selo? And Jap 3 said a lot of people give that credit to his uncle Droopy, who he claims adopted that word. And he said he can't confirm that to be true, but that's just word on the street that he got from the older heads. And Jap 3 said he can recall at a young age being from Hoovers, going to Bethune, getting into it and catching fade with the East Coasters. And he said the first day when he stepped foot into Bethune, he said the East Coasters pressed upon him and said, "Where you from?" And as soon as he said Hoovers, they got down. Now fast forward, Jap 3 gets into some trouble where he ends up getting locked up in YA and ended up getting his high school diploma at YTS. Now Jap 3 said before he got that name, the Hoovers first called him Hoover Shank, because everywhere he went, he always had a knife on him and he wasn't scared or hesitated to stick someone with it. Then Cartoon asked Jap 3 what was his hardest fight, and he said it was a big ass Samoan dude from Park Village, Compton Crip. And he said he's the first one to pop it off, because when that Samoan dude walked past him, he picked up his tray and smacked it on his face. And he said all he can remember is getting up and having all types of knots on his head. Now Jap 3 said being to every prison in California, he said a lot of people that the Hoovers looked at as enemies in the streets embraced them like a brother when they were locked up in prison. Now Jap 3 compared gangbanging to mental illness, and he explained the reason why. And he said when gangs first originated, they weren't created for them to hurt each other. But after blood was shed in the streets due to gang conflicts, it caused a divide within the black community because everybody had to join a tribe. And Jap 3 said if the Norteños and the Sureños can have somewhat of a conflict resolution, then why can't we? And he said we already proved that we can have a peace treaty because we already did back in the days between the Crips and the Bloods. But he said now, when we do it, we need to find a way to maintain it. And he said just because you push peace treaty with your so-called enemies, that doesn't mean you have to kick it with them every single time in their neighborhood or their section. But it's more like if you see me, you give me a pass and I'll do the same to you. And we don't need to resort to violence. And if we have a disagreement with each other, we can see each other from the shoulders and catch fade. I mean, shout outs to Big G-Face and his little homie Baby G-Face from 5-1 Trouble Gangsta Crips for coming to No Jumper and having a sit down with Spider-Loc, who's from Neighborhood East Coast Crip, and Brick Baby, who's from Rolling 60s Neighborhood Crip, who are considered enemies in the streets, but they were able to go on social media and have a sit down and actually chop it up and have a good conversation as well as a solid interview, because they showed unity on that platform. And he said after years of being blinded by the streets, he finally realized, even though he's 54 years old now, how the streets tricked him. Because he said the streets taught him to run around with dudes doing unproductive things in the streets and not being there for his kids, and caring more for the streets than your own family. And he said even if you gangbanging out here in these streets and you lose a loved one from your section, or even somebody that you consider an enemy loses their life, he said at the end of the day, that's someone's son. And he said in the streets, they don't teach you how to mourn death. The only thing they teach you is revenge, which is going to create an ongoing cycle of war in the streets. And he said that's what causes the mental illness in the streets. Now Jap 3 admits that back in his younger days, he could have went far in his rap career, but he was more focused on gangbanging. And being born in the ghetto, he was trying to find fast cash. And the only way to get that is to either sling them rocks or be a stick-up kid. And he said now that he put the streets behind him and now trying to focus on his raps, he said the Lord told him that he ain't gonna amount to anything in his rap career if he doesn't rap about him. And Jap said the Lord said that he didn't want to hear nothing about his gangbanging or his Hoover affiliation or being in the streets. He solely wants to hear about the miracles that he gave him when he gave him a second opportunity of freedom. Now, the last words that Jap 3 had for the younger youth was, be your own man. Don't be a follower, and if you are the leader, don't mislead anybody. And understand that time is precious, so you have to take advantage of it. Because Jap 3 said he can remember when he was young, he was strong, full of strength, and had a bunch of energy. And he wanted the younger youth to follow their heart and dreams, and not let their surroundings or the people that live in their neighborhood be the reason that they're into something. Now, salutes up to Jap 3, and I'm pretty sure when his son Jap 5 comes home, he gonna hold him under his wing and make sure that he focuses more on his rap career. But y'all like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in that comment section. It's Paperboy Newsstand. Y'all be safe and stay dangerous out there. Gone.